the manufacturers and obviously the plans and what's changed in the transport side of it, to get a unit built and then get it moved from where it is built to all the places where the retail happens. And I know that that has to happen long before the planning. I mean, obviously in any product you make, right, you figure out, okay, what's the price point this thing can be at, and then you deconstruct it backwards and figure out, can I build this thing and for what price to be profitable? And I wonder if that'll be like a timing thing, maybe over time they'll sort of sharpen their pencil backward, I'd like to think. So, I mean, obviously you sit at the ground level to where that all happens, and I do not, but
Yeah. Customer experience has been terrible for the last 2 years. And it's kind of, customers have kind of been bullied. And it's, and what I mean by that is, here it is, here's the price. If you don't want it, move out of the way. The guy behind you does.
right.
And it's just it's kind of like we're trying to pivot out of that. We're trying to give deals. We're trying to do this, do that. But the manufacturers are really, I don't want to use the word greedy at all. I don't feel like they're greedy, but I know I'm on Polaris Dealer Council, and we talked about surcharge. We just had a meeting week and a half ago. We were talking about surcharges, kind of where the market was going, what the manufacturer side is doing, and they're still dealing with so many inconsistencies of the fuel and the freights and all these type things. It's a roller coaster ride for them. So they just started putting rebates on ATVs and some select side by sides. And we were like, why are you doing rebates? Why don't you do away with surcharge? Like, we don't understand that. And they said it's because the roller coaster ride isn't over, but rebates they can add and take away
Yep.
on a monthly basis versus a surcharge. Once they kind of take it away, they don't want to bring it back. So it made sense, but just that's a challenge for the consumer right now. Challenge for the dealer is just the deal, and for salespeople. I mean, you sell something for MSRP and you get a $50 mini. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Tell me a little bit about your story, right? So what I know of you is that you've been an owner for a year or almost two, maybe something like that. But before that,
Yeah.
you were a manager at, a big multi-line store there in South Texas. Tell me a little bit about your story.
It's kind of funny. My wife and I got married when we were 17 years old. We couldn't even rent a car on our honeymoon. And we were really elementary grade sweethearts. We had been kind of boyfriend and girlfriend since we were 9. And I didn't have, obviously at 17, I didn't really have a dream or a vision. And I actually, by accident, went into a power sports dealership in Beaumont, Texas. And I was looking for cheap transportation. And at the time, I was actually working at Men's Warehouse. And also, I built golf clubs and taught golf lessons on the side. And he asked what I did for a living. Of course, I told him, and he said, "Man, have you ever thought about selling motorcycles?" And I was like, I would love to. I grew up in the country. I grew up where ATVs and side-by-sides were not toys. They were tools. And so I was very familiar with the product. And, of course, I love people and love to talk and love to communicate. And so that's where it kind of started. And that was in 1999. And Beaumont, Texas, on College and Avenue C. And we were a single line Yamaha store. We sold the Harley franchise to Cowboy Harley-Davidson. And of course, the Cowboy organization has done great things. And then in 2003 or 4, we built a big Taj Mahal store. We added Kawasaki and Suzuki. We bought out a store there in Beaumont. It was called Kawasaki Country. So we went in and built a mega store and sold Yamaha, Kawasaki, Suzuki. And then I believe it was about 2007, 2008, the Mancuso organization in Houston started getting into the metric business. And in Beaumont, we were the number one Yamaha Rhino dealer back when Rhinos were the big thing. And so they started proselyting me. And after about a year of Daryl Harry trying to get me there, I finally went and went to the Mancuso store as a general sales manager at their big metric store. And then 3 months after that, they promoted me to general manager at a north location at Mancuso North. And I was driving about an hour to work every day and missing a lot of my kids' baseball games, basketball games, a lot of their life. And a store became available at Mancuso South, and it was a little bitty terrible location. They did about 25 units a month. It was losing money, but it was 2 miles from my house. And I raised my hand and I asked my boss, Daryl Harry, if he could give me that location and let me be general manager there. And his exact words, Phillip, you don't want that store. I said, man, let me talk to my wife tonight. He said, it's losing money, Phillip. And he said, you're not going to make any commission checks. You're just going to make your salary, and that's all you're going to get. So I said, let me talk to my wife tonight, see if we can financially do it. And I think I want to make that leap and try to make that store, a name for itself. Next day, I let him know I did want to do it. I took it. And the first month I was there, we did 67 units, and it averaged 28 a month. And I was actually talking about this tonight. I'll never forget the month that we hit $100,000 in gross profit in the sales. I got calls from every person in the company congratulating me because that store had never done those type of numbers. And of course, we grew it to a point to where it was the number 17 Polaris store in the nation. And we were, 2020, we were averaging 300 units a month, up until that point, it was growing solid to 200 plus a month, and, but yeah, just kind of believing and changing a mindset and really, just kind of just not limiting yourself, to what you think something can or can't be, just putting your head down, working and believing, and always, leaving the end of the day, I always ask myself a question. Did I do everything in my power at the best of my ability today? And if you answer that yes, you have to be satisfied with the results. If you answer that no, then do more tomorrow. And so that's kind of my story in the industry, and that's how I grew that. And then the Mancuso organization kind of dangled a carrot in front of me as when I came to Houston, they were going to offer ownership. And I never got that, unfortunately, and I'm not bashing on those guys. I'm so thankful for them because I wouldn't be where I am today without them. And but in 2021 April, I was greatly honored to be able to buy out an incredible store that had been in business since, even started back in the 70s. Of course, they got their first Yamaha franchise, and I believe it was 91. And was able to buy out Bob and Dave, and those guys are incredible. They set a big legacy in front of us, and I'm glad to kind of carry the torch. That was in April of 2021. Did really well. Store just took off, like with a cannon, shot out of a cannon. And then in May of 2022, I was contacted by a family here in Houston, and they were friends with the people that we had bought out at Houston Motorsports, and they wanted to sell to me because they had seen how well I did with their employees. I didn't go in there and terminate everyone. I didn't go in there and belittle them and tell them that forget everything you've ever learned. This is my way or the highway. I went in and explained to them that we're going to go on a journey, and I want everyone here to go with me. But I am fully prepared to go on it by myself. But I'm going to go on a ride. It's going to be fun. We're going to make a lot of money, and let's go. And so they all kind of believed in me, drank the Kool-Aid, and here we go. And so 2022, we were able to buy 3 more dealerships. Been a little bit of a challenge just because of the amount of buy sales that were going on. It was really difficult to get the ball over the goal line, but we finally, believe it or not, this week we have finally got all of our dealer numbers from every manufacturer, and we are extremely worn out and extremely thankful. But we were able to buy the Texas Power Sports organization.
Do you happen to know about, you probably know the number, but approximately how many employees do you have now at the multiple different locations?
At the multiple stores, we're actually fixing to add a 5th, and that will probably put me over a little over 100 employees.
Okay. Well, that's a big number, but for a guy who's obviously, it's important to to take care of other human beings, right? That's the sort of thing where then you're sort of respected and trusted to continue on and be able to do that at scale, right? At that point, it's not like we're talking, an
Yeah.
organization with thousands of people, but the power sports business, I've been there. I've been in a place where the owner and you're happy with this scenario, and in comes someone new, and like you say, there can be an ego that doesn't fit through the door, and a lot of times I'm more important than this organization than anybody here, and it definitely leaves a certain amount of like a PTSD. People are like, I don't think this is for me anymore, and you think about
Yeah.
the all the pieces of the puzzle that sort of come apart in those scenarios.
Well, my biggest thing too, Brian, is I want to win. And I tell my guys, I tell my employees, my guys, my family, and winning is the only option. No one wants to go to work and lose. No one wants to, you know, get on the football field on Sunday and say, you know what, I'm thankful to be here, but I'm here to lose. And so I think when you can breed that winning mentality, and once someone gets a taste of victory, like it's a taste that you crave forever. And so many people in the power sports industry and a lot of these, you know, let's call them the mom and pop organizations, they just kind of go through the motions, and there's lots of excuses made. There's lots of talk about the good old days, the way things used to be. I wish they would come back. And I got news for everyone. The good old days, we're living in them. The good old days that you're referring to are never going to be the same. They're never coming back. And so we're living in a new era. And the thing is you gotta breed that winning mentality. And sometimes it's pay structures. Sometimes it's, patting and giving people, that a boys. I tell you something I do. I probably would never be able to write this book, but I want to write a book one day, and I can't even read and write, but I want to write a book one day, right? And I want to title it that 10 pennies changed my life. And the reason I say that is because I was told, I don't even know who told me this, but I heard it somewhere many, many, many years ago. And I put 10 pennies in my left pocket every day. And at the end of the day, my goal is to move those pennies from my left pocket to my right pocket. And I can only move pennies by giving compliments to my employees. And so every day I walk around from the forklift driver to the porter to general manager, sales manager, office staff, whoever it is, and I give compliments, and I tell them how awesome they are, and I tell them how thankful I am for them, and I tell them how, what an asset they are to this dealership, and I can't do it without them, and all these great compliments, and you look nice today, I love those shoes, whatever the compliment might be, and I move those pennies from one pocket to the other, and I've been doing that for many, 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 many years. And 10 pennies changed my life because I have a staff behind me that loves me. Of course, there's days they probably want to cut my throat. I don't know. But I have a staff, a crew group behind me that are in the fight with me, and they want to win. And they come to work every day, and they have a place that they want to win at, they want to work at. And I really believe the 10 pennies has really, put me into a leadership role that it's a fun working environment. And then when you have to have those hard conversations, I have employees tear up because it's like getting onto your child. Like they love you, right? And so when you have to have those hard conversations, it's not just like, oh, here comes the boss again. He's going to tell me where I suck and how bad I am and how my F&I number's in the tank and I'm not selling enough units. But when you can have those conversations, but you've given out more love than you have criticism, they tend to take that criticism and it makes them they take it, they eat it as fuel to win. Does that make sense?
As consumers, we definitely, as much as I try to be the same and much in the direction of your level of optimism and gratitude, it's still that the sting of those bad ones are hard to get rid of. I'd be curious for you to expand a little bit on what did the conversations at the salesman to customer level look like if I'm a customer and I come in and I'm like, oh, I didn't know anybody had these in stock. I see you've got one. Okay, I'll take that one on the floor. Well, what does that look like to the sort of the imparting the knowledge from the sales level or whatever to the customer to be like, but here's what we need to do. Would you share some of like what a story might have been, like a conversation may have gone like?
So I don't know. I don't fully understand your question, Brian. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
So
So you had said
ask
that,
me more.
yeah, instead of doing like an additional deal or just a markup to say we need a
Okay.
market adjustment of whatever 5, 10, whatever the number is, instead of doing that, you said, but your units, because you knew supply demand was not in a proper place and you needed to keep cash flow, stuff happening, you were selling them a real actual good. But how did the conversation tend to go
So
to
how we would do it,
make them aware of it?
yeah, I got you now. Sorry.
That's okay.
How we would do it is because most of it was all pre-orders that for whatever reason
Okay.
the customer was unable to purchase.
Yep.
And so we would normally just say, hey, the customer that was purchasing it was buying rims, tires, and lift. We ordered it. We need to go ahead and add it to that machine. However, we're putting black wheels on it. But if you want chrome rims, we can go ahead and change that now. And so we would do it in that way. And the other thing we would do is when we didn't have a pre-sold unit, we would always look at the customer. And this is good for anybody. You can do this even now after COVID. Every consumer has probably shopped online and looked at used stuff before they went down and bought a new or a pre-owned. And something that you'll never see, Brian, is a 3-year-old side-by-side bone stock. You just don't see it. Everyone needs a roof. You need a windshield. You need a front bumper. You definitely need a winch, because if you take this machine out and it gets stuck one time, you better have a tractor. And if you don't have a tractor, you hopefully can get your truck to it, right? So everyone needs something on a side-by-side. So when you open their mind up to where they're like, you know what, you're right. Every side-by-side has a roof. There must be a reason they have a roof. Well, yeah, because the sun in Southeast Texas will blister you. You have to have a roof. So
It's for your
it's
safety.
kind of like letting a customer finance a machine with no money down, and you don't demand that they buy Gap. Like, you have to buy Gap. Like, you're financing tax, title, license, freight, and assembly. You have to put Gap insurance on this thing. So we would kind of use those analogies with customers and say, listen, you have to at least put a roof on there. And if you're going to be riding at the beach or the deer lease, that roof needs a radio in it, right? I mean, you want to listen to some, country music or Leonard Skinner when you're out there loading your deer feeders, right? And so you just kind of we worked a little harder to get that customer understanding than prior to COVID and after COVID. It's kind of like running cattle through the chute, But when you go from selling 200 a month to 100 a month, you definitely have time to slow down the process and really capitalize on that process. And so that's really what we did. We just really capitalized on it and educated them that they needed these things. It wasn't just that we wanted to sell them, like, you need these.
What's a current struggle that you're in and that you're heading out of? You've got some idea, some plan, or you just know you're moving through it?
The biggest struggle is honestly just daily trying to teach your staff and show your staff that the COVID days are over, and it's back. I don't like calling it the grind. I actually like it better because I'm all about customer experience. Nothing matters unless the customer experience is good. And when a customer is getting strong armed and an arm behind them, bent over them, and making them buy something, and they feel like they had to buy it because you're the only person that had it, so you had to pay this, you had to do that, the customer experience is that. So really, just getting my team to understand that customer experience is all that matters. And when the customer experience is good, you're going to be successful. But if we don't have a good customer experience, we don't need product because we're not going to sell any product, And so really trying to get them to understand that it's important to, I always say, pick before price. So, our internet leads, sending pictures and videos and the experience and contact in 5 minutes or less, and, doing a video walking through the store and just kind of giving them a virtual tour before they ever get in, because there's a lot of people that are getting leads, and a lot of the units that they're putting leads on is already sold, right? And now pre-orders are kind of getting a little more challenging. Manufacturers are pivoting, and it's really a challenge to kind of get that salesperson, so to speak, to really understand that it's important for that experience to be good. Because honestly, the last 2 years, the customer experience has just plummeted, and and even in the parts and accessories, it's kind of, parts and accessory guys, we're kind of getting, fat, so to speak, because every unit. I mean, we had units, Brian, that were setting their stock with no accessories on them, and we would tell the customer that this unit is going to leave with $5,000 worth of accessories. You need to go to the parts department and pick out $5,000 worth of accessories, and they would do it. And so the salespeople, the service or the parts people, weren't like hungry, because they were kind of getting forced to. This machine's getting a roof and a windshield and wheels and tires, but if you want to maybe a la carte and change a little bit, we can let you change it, but it's at least getting this, and so we were having to do it because your sales go from 200 units a month to 50 units a month. So you were really having to capitalize on every opportunity, because you simply didn't have the product. So some people might look at it as taking advantage of customers, and other people look at it as this was the way we had to keep our doors open, because pre-owned bikes were non-existent, right? And new units were just trickling in. So it's really trying to kind of get people off of top dead center to back to where it is about customer experience. It's not about a transaction. It's about an experience. And that's really the toughest thing right now for us.
So, Phillip, not much of a great intro for you, but I appreciate you coming on.
Man, thank you so much. I'm excited to be here, and hopefully I can help and make a little difference in the power sports industry.
Well, if that's all for me to hopefully open cans of worms throughout this episode and get you to share some insights. And like I say, I wouldn't knock on your door if I wasn't interested in some of the stuff you have to say. So I know that that's going to be representative of other people that listen. So first and foremost, I don't really know where you and I connected. It may have just been another person I saw a post of on social media or LinkedIn or somewhere. Do you happen to know do you know where we connected at all?
I know you and I talking back in the day, late 90s, early 2000s. You made your way kind of through Texas, repping some goggles, some working for Scott. And, I think our paths maybe crossed through there. And then obviously, we're really connected with a lot of people, and we know a lot of the same people. So when you start talking about, the past and all the people it feels like we've known each other forever, and I don't think we've ever had dinner.
What could you name me a couple things? I'm sure you can. What are a couple things that you're most proud of, if in your life at this point?
I mean, I'm going to tell you what brings me the most joy in my life is seeing people that were, let's say, entry level employees that are now department head managers, GMs, general sales managers. Like, for instance, my parts manager, his name is Mike. And when I first went to work at in 2009 with the Mancuso organization, I hired Mike. He was an hourly wage, $12 an hour employee, parts counter, order taker. And to see, Mike's life develop and flourish, to owning a home, to being married, to having 3 kids, and still in the power sports industry, that brings me the most joy is when I'm able to influence and change someone's life by teaching them, empowering them, trusting them, training them, and sending them. And I have so many employees around me. A couple of my parts accessory sales guys, They both just bought houses. It's their first house. They're both in, serious relationships, engaged, and it brings so much joy to see people's life come together, doing what they enjoy and doing what they love. And I know that if they're successful, I'm successful. So many times I honestly worry about the success and focus on the success of my employees, because it's impossible for them to be successful, them to be winning, and me not winning. So many times we focus on our own success and not the success around us. And our success comes and goes because we were so focused on us and not the people that are help building this empire. So if I can focus on my people winning, I organically, automatically win. And I don't even worry about me winning because I'm worried about their winning. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so that's what brings me the most happiness, honest to God, is seeing my people win around me and drive up in new trucks and, new homes, and their kids wearing new shoes and brand new baseball gloves. That's what makes me happy.
Thanks again for listening to this lost tape of the Dealership Fix It podcast. These guest interviews still hit hard, and we're bringing them back re-edited, sharpened up, and focused entirely on what matters, helping dealerships like yours improve, grow, and win. If you got something out of this one, hit that share button or forward it to a dealership friend who needs it. And make sure you're following the show so we can keep bringing you more content like this with convos with people shaping the power sports industry. Catch you on the next one.
Still guessing what to pay on a used bike? Still holding aged units that just won't move? It's time for a real system. Moto Hunt's ultimate used inventory playbook shows how the best dealers are finding better inventory, pricing trades right, and turning used bikes faster with fewer mistakes and more margin. It's short, real, and free to download right now. Visit dealers.motohunt.com to grab your copy or check for the link in the notes.